On the super review, let's take a look at the KZ ZSNs. Okay, I've already reviewed a ton of different KZ headphones. These things are like Pokemon, you gotta collect them all. And they've got a new one. This is the KZ ZSN, and it's another sub $20 in-ear monitor. Like some of their other sub $20 headphones, this is a dual driver headphone. It's got one dynamic and one balanced armature. But unlike some of the other earbuds, this one's got an interesting design to it. This has got sort of a half metal, half plastic design that I think looks pretty handsome, at least in pictures. I haven't opened it up yet, but let's go ahead and open it up. We'll see what you get inside the box, and then I'll do a little bit of a listening comparison test with this versus the ES4s as well as the ZSAs, because I think these are all in like roughly the same price range. And I'm interested to see, how does the ZSN stack up? All right, we got the KZ ZSNs in a box, and this box looks pretty familiar. If you've watched me unbox a KZ headphone in the past, this is probably gonna be pretty familiar, but I do have a feeling that there's gonna be at least one surprise in here. So, well, let's just go ahead and open it up. All right, so we got the KZ ZSNs out of the box, and what do you get? Well, pretty standard fare as expected, but again, with one surprise. So let's go over here. You get some instructions and like a registration card or something. I don't know what this is. This is not the surprise. You do get 4 different pairs of ear tips. You get extra large, large, you get the mediums that are pre-installed, and then you get smalls. And in my case, I got a very deformed small. That is a weird looking tip, and it's just one of the tips, so that's definitely that's definitely an error. Over here we've got the KZ cable, which is actually a little bit different than the cable we've gotten with other KZ headphones. And this I'm actually really excited about. Let's start down here. Obviously it looks a little bit different. The coloration is different. This has just got like a straight copper color, which I think looks really handsome. You've got these clear parts, which I still don't like the shape of this Y connector because it's got this kind of sharp edge. It'll get caught on some things. It's a fairly small problem, but it is an issue I have with this cable. But then you come up here, and this is what I'm excited about. These ear hooks, check these out. KZ ear hooks that have got a pre-formed shape to them. So I don't have to, oh, that's so good. There's so many KZ headphones that I've got with these wires in the cable that every time I put them on and off, I have to reshape the wire. These things are pre-shaped, so I don't have to worry about that. That's so good. And then you come to the earbuds themselves, which I've got this really, I think, striking purple and silver coloring to mine. I think this is a really good looking earbud, and it's interesting is that the weight of these is actually pretty solid. Like, these don't feel cheap at all. These things feel really nicely made. I think this is a nice looking earbud, but what's really gonna be important is how does it sound? So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and hook these up to my Walkman. I'll give them a listening test, run it against my reference library of music, and compare these things to the KZ ES4s, the KZ ZSAs, and then I might also compare them to some other earbuds, depending on how much I like them, frankly. Might also compare them to some other earbuds that I really like and see, is this an $18 headphone that I can recommend to everybody? All right, let's talk about the KZ ZSN, which, as it turns out, is one of my favorite KZ headphones, but also one of my least favorite KZ headphones. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this. The build quality is what I think the KZ ZSN does the best. This thing is, in my opinion, this is the best built KZ. Not necessarily that it's the most durable or anything like that. It's just that the build quality decisions that went into this, I think, are better than what they've done with their other headphones. So the aesthetic of it, I think, looks really good. I love the combination of metal and plastic. The shape of these KZ ZSNs is probably the thing that they do the best, where
if you're wearing like the KZ ES10s, which are probably my favorite KZ headphones in terms of sound quality, if you're wearing those, they're, I don't know, maybe it's just my ears, but they're not the most comfortable headphone. The KZ, let's see, ZS10 it doesn't even fit in my ear really. These things fit wonderfully. These things just plug in my ear, they stay put. I love them. The only quibble I have with sort of the build quality of the shells is that these metal plates on the outside, they look great. I think they look really cool, but they do have kind of sharp edges that, you know, if you fit this thing deep enough into your ear that like the outside lobe ends up rubbing against the metal, it can be a little bit painful. I mean, just like it's just a little bit of an annoyance, right? But if you don't wear them that deep or your ears aren't that deep, it's not gonna be a problem. The other part of the build quality that the ZSNs get totally right where other KZs have failed is this cable. And now this cable shares like, I don't know, 85, 90% in common with other KZ cables. So what have they got right? And really it's just all down to these hooks. These hooks have built-in memory rather than a memory wire that's moldable. And I find that to just be, it makes this such a better cable. It means that these things don't get tangled up as much. It means that when you put them on your head, you're not having to reform the memory wire every single time you put them on. I think it's just a big improvement, and I wish that this cable worked on every other KZ headphone that I've got. Unfortunately, because of this connector, I think it's a good connector, it's fine. It's just not compatible with other KZ headphones. Kind of a bummer, but if you're just wearing the KZ ZSNs, not a problem. Now let's talk about the sound, which is where I think the KZ ZSN, it's doing some good things, but it's probably my least favorite sounding KZ headphone, which is a little bit odd because the sound signature that this thing is going for is probably the most closely matched to my personal preferences. I like a bright headphone, and these are, as far as what I've heard, the brightest sounding KZ headphone. That doesn't mean that they don't also have big bass, because they do have big bass. And when you're now talking about a bright headphone with big bass, it sounds like it's gonna have an extreme V, but it doesn't feel like the mids are like gone. This feels like a pretty forward sounding, clear sounding, you know, bright headphone with good bass, which sounds like what I want. Unfortunately, I found myself just not super enthused with the sound quality. I think it's just missing some of the nuance that you get in other headphones, and maybe I've just been listening to some other particular headphones that I really love, but these are missing a little bit of nuance that gives them the stickiness that some of my favorite headphones have, right? I think the stage on these is relatively small. I think there's a little bit of sibilance in the highs. And then I think that just kind of generally the highs and the bass are a little bit blunt sounding. The more that you listen to it, the more that you it just feels a little bit blunt. And now, look, this is a really high criticism of a headphone that costs $18. And I don't want to belabor that point too much. This thing is under $20. It's not going to sound incredible. For what it is, I think it sounds pretty good. You know, if you're currently rocking like a pair of Apple EarPods or your AKGs that came with your Samsung phone, these things sound much better than those. I think these are a really good upgrade from those. They just don't have some of the nuance that I like in other KZ headphones, like the ZS10s or the AS10s. So if I were to rate the KZ ZSN, I'd give it a solid 4 stars out of 5. I think for under 20 bucks, I haven't heard anything better. Well, that's not totally true. I do actually prefer the sound out of the ES4s, but I think that these things get the physical aspects a lot better than the ES4s, and I'd probably pick these up over the ES4s just because of the shape of my ears, I guess. But yeah, I think I would give these things 4 stars out of 5. Great build quality, love the cable, love the look, and the sound is pretty good. It's pretty good. That said, if you can spend a little bit extra money, I do think that the KZ ZSA is a better sound and gets a lot of those same things right with a worse cable. Or if you can spend a little bit extra money, well, there's some other headphones out there that I'm gonna be reviewing on this channel that you'll see in a bit. But yeah, the KZ ZSN, under 20 bucks, 4 stars out of 5, not too bad. If you're interested in checking this out, I do have links in the description down below. While you're down there, you can hit the like button for this video if you like the video. You can subscribe to the channel, and then I'll see you in the next super review.